Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine, like, discovering a place hidden away in nature somewhere. Somewhere steeped in such ancient lore, really connected deeply to the land itself.
Okay.
That it only really reveals itself for maybe a few weeks out of the whole year. It sounds ancient, but also, I don't know, dramatically alive.
That absolutely sounds like something straight out of mythology, doesn't it?
It does.
But, places like this genuinely exist, and we've actually got some fascinating source material here, descriptions, notes, some research excerpts.
Oh, okay.
All pointing to one specific location like that.
Right. And our sources today, they're all focused on a place called Kottiyoor Temple. It's in Kerala, India.
That's the one.
So our mission for this deep dive is basically to take these texts, these notes, and really uncover the key elements. What's its significance? What makes Kottiyoor Temple stand out?
Exactly. We want to get a feel for its unique connection to ancient rituals and some powerful mythology.
Yeah. And these sources, they seem to cover quite a bit.
They do. They give us the geography, describe its, pretty unusual structure right by a river. Tell us about the main deity, which is Lord Shiva.
Okay.
And crucially, detail this massive annual festival, one that's apparently rooted in incredibly ancient practices.
And maybe the most compelling part, they tie its whole origin, its founding, to this powerful, really dramatic legend, something straight out of the classic Indian epics.
Absolutely. A foundational story.
So let's start at the beginning then. Where exactly is this place?
Okay, so according to the material we've got, Kottiyoor Temple is in North Kerala.
North Kerala.
Specifically the Kottiyoor district. And it's described as being quite remote, nestled in the foothills of the Western Ghats.
So deep in the mountains.
Pretty much. The sources call it a profoundly holy land, just resting in this deep natural tranquility. Very peaceful, very green, you imagine.
So definitely not a temple in a busy city or town. It's really embedded in the landscape.
Exactly.
And the sources mention the river nearby. That seems important, more than just scenery.
Oh, absolutely crucial. The Bhavali River isn't just near the temple, it actually divides it. The whole complex is uniquely situated on both banks.
Both banks. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, which leads to this dual structure. There's Akari Kottiyoor on the northern bank and Ikari Kottiyoor on the southern bank.
Akare and Ikare. And here's where it gets really fascinating, like you hinted earlier. One of those sides, it's not always there, or rather, not always accessible.
That's the striking detail, yeah. Akari Kottiyoor, the northern bank side. The texts explicitly state it's open only during the period of the annual festival.
Only then.
It's not just physically separate. It really suggests that the profound sacredness, the energy of that specific spot is tied directly to the timing of this major ritual event.
So it's almost like that part of the temple, maybe its full spiritual power, only truly emerges for that specific time.
That's a good way to put it. It has this temporary, almost revealing quality, tied directly to its most important event.
Incredible. So who is the central figure here? The deity this all revolves around.
The main deity worshipped is Sri Kottiyoor Appan,
Okay.
which is a form of Bhagavan Shiva, or Lord Shiva.
Ah, Shiva. Okay, that definitely signals powerful mythology and probably intense ritual.
Precisely. Given Shiva's role, you expect that kind of depth and intensity.
And speaking of those rituals, the sources really seem to zero in on one particular festival.
They do, yeah. The Vaisakha Mahotsavam. It's presented as the single most significant event at Kottiyoor Temple, a huge annual gathering.
How huge are we talking? What kind of scale? What duration?
Well, it runs for quite a while, roughly 28 days.
28 days.
Yeah, usually falling in May and June. So we're looking at almost a full month of continuous religious activity.
Almost a month. That's a serious commitment.
Yeah.
And the sources describe the festival itself as being very structured, intense.
Yes, exactly. They really emphasize that it's one of the most highly ritualistic, most elaborate festivals you'll find in Kerala.
Okay.
The practices follow very strict adherence to ancient rituals, specifically drawing from ancient Tantra Shastra.
Tantra Shastra. For listeners who might not know, what does that involve broadly?
Broadly, Tantra refers to a body of texts, philosophies, and practices focused on pretty elaborate and sometimes intense sacred techniques aimed at spiritual insight or transformation.
Right.
And the sources mention key elements within the festival like fire pits, Agnikundam, and yagas.
Yagas?
I can't.
Those are sacred sacrificial rituals, right. Very ancient.
Very ancient, yes. Central to the whole observance at Kottiyoor during this time. So this isn't just like a cultural fair.
No, definitely not. It sounds like a deep, ancient, sacred performance playing out over weeks.
That's the feeling you get from the descriptions.
And how many people actually come for this? To watch or take part?
Thousands. The sources say thousands upon thousands of devotees arrive for the Mahotsavam.
Wow.
They travel apparently from very distant places too, which really underlines the magnetic pull of this festival and the perceived power of the site.
And it makes that temporary nature of Akari Kottiyoor even more striking. This massive crowd converges on a place that's basically dormant the rest of the year.
Exactly. It's quite a powerful image.
It really is. You have this serene, remote place split by a river, one side popping up just for this huge, ritual-heavy festival for Lord Shiva. It all just screams powerful origin story.
And the sources definitely deliver on that front. They link the temple's very existence to a major mythological event.
Which one is that?
The foundational legend, the one inextricably tied to Kottiyoor, is the story of Sati Devi and the very dramatic Daksha Yaga.
The Daksha Yaga. Okay, that's not a minor story in Hinduism. That's huge.
Absolutely huge. It's recounted in major Puranic texts like the Shiva Purana, the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's central.
So, for anyone who might not know the full story, can you give us the quick version and, crucially, how the sources connect it specifically to this place, Kottiyoor?
Sure. So the profound belief, according to these texts we have, isn't just that Kottiyoor is related to the story. It's believed to be the actual site, the very ground where the sacred drama unfolded.
The actual spot.
That's the belief. It's held to be the place where Daksha, who is Sati's father, performed his grand sacrifice, his yaga, but he deliberately, pointedly excluded Shiva, his son-in-law.
Right, a huge insult.
A massive insult, and Sati Devi, his daughter, Shiva's wife, she couldn't bear this dishonor to her husband, so she went to the sacrifice, and in profound grief and protest, she immolated herself in the sacrificial fire.
Such a tragic and powerful moment.
Incredibly. And then, overcome with grief and, cosmic rage, Lord Shiva arrived in his fierce form, Virabhadra, and he just destroyed Daksha and the entire sacrifice. Utter devastation.
And the significance here is that this pivotal, universe-altering event in the story of Shiva and Sati is believed to have happened right there, on the soil where the temple now stands.
Precisely. That's the core belief. This origin legend doesn't just give Kottiyoor a history. It fundamentally imbues the physical land itself with immense spiritual power. It grants the temple its unique, profound significance.
It's understood as the literal ground zero for this foundational myth.
Exactly. Which makes the rituals performed there, especially during the Vaisakha Mahotsavam, feel like a reenactment or maybe a continuation of that original cataclysmic sacred event.
Wow. That adds such incredible weight to everything that happens there.
It really does.
It's also interesting, the sources mention the journey to Kottiyoor. Getting there, say, from Thalassery, which is a nearby town, it's not just travel, is it?
No, that detail seems important, too. It reinforces the idea that the experience of Kottiyoor is holistic. It's not just arriving at the destination. It's the entire path you take to reach this remote, serene, natural setting, a place just steeped in ancientness and ritual purity.
Part of the pilgrimage itself.
Yes. The sources describe it as a vital spiritual pilgrimage center. It's suitable for darshan, that spiritual act of seeing and being seen by the deity or the sacred site, getting blessings, and also for meditation and prayer. The whole experience, the journey and the arrival, is meant to leave this unforgettable spiritual mark on you.
Okay, so let's try and bring all these threads together. We've got this temple deep in a remote, natural setting in the mountains.
The Western Surbia.
Physically split by a river, the Vala, with the key part of the complex, Akari Kottiyoor, basically emerging only for a specific time each year.
For the festival.
Dedicated to Lord Shiva, hosting this immense ancient festival, the Vaisakha Mahotsavam, packed with intense rituals like Agnikundam fire pits and yagas.
Rooted in Tantra Shastra.
And the whole place fundamentally rooted in the belief that the dramatic, world-altering Daksha Yaga legend happened right there.
Yeah.
What does this combination, this confluence of elements really tell us about Kottiyoor?
I think it tells us that Kottiyoor Temple is this incredibly powerful, living example of how the natural world, ancient beliefs, intense ritual practice, and enduring mythology can intersect, really dramatically intersect, in a single location.
A meeting point for all those things.
Exactly. It's a place where the stories of the deep past aren't just, remembered or recited. They are, in a very real sense, actively re-experienced, reenacted through these sacred rites, performed on the very land where they're believed to have happened.
The place itself holds the memory.
It holds the memory and the energy of the myth. That's the feeling conveyed.
It gives you this profound sense of, well, history, devotion, and the sheer power of story and nature being completely woven together.
It does. And what's truly compelling, I think, is the unique power that these ancient stories combined with specific natural landscapes.
Like the riverbanks, the forest.
Exactly. That combination, plus the belief that key myths unfolded right there in those particular places, that's what grants locations like Kottiyoor their distinct and profound spiritual significance.
And that significance, it's clearly not just something in history books or ancient texts.
No, not at all.
It continues to draw thousands upon thousands of people seeking connection, seeking spiritual energy, maybe seeking a link to this ancient stream of tradition year after year, especially during that incredible Vaisakha Mahotsavam.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? It raises this important question for us to consider. How do places like Kottiyoor, so deeply tied to precise natural features, the river, the banks, and these ancient narratives of cosmic events, how do they manage not just to survive across millennia, but to maintain such intense, elaborate, and frankly physically demanding traditions, like that month-long festival?
Right. What keeps it going with such vibrancy?
And what does that enduring connection, that deep tie to myth and ritual, tell us about maybe a fundamental human need, a need for sacred space, for origin stories, for places where the divine is felt to have touched the earth?